Welcome to Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya. And now more than ever, I'm Jeff Koinange. Now, if you've been watching Capital Talk this week, you know we've been profiling women who've overcome all kinds of odds. For instance, Monday, Anne Jogu of Crew. She's known as the fighter. And on Tuesday, Judy Akinyi, ex-inmate, who is now preaching against drugs. Today, my guest can only be called one who never gives up. Case in point, a few months ago, she tried to run for the mayoral seat in Nairobi. She didn't make it. A few weeks later, she figured Embakasi is open to a by-election. Let me throw my hat in. She performed pretty reasonably, but again, she didn't make it, although she is petitioning. We want to know what makes my guest keep going and going and going. Is it because she likes punishment or she has an agenda? My guest today is the former MD of Adopt a Light. They known her around town as Mama Ta, Esther Rosanna Passaris.
Hi.
Esther, is it true you like punishment? Is that it?
No, but I think life is never supposed to be easy. I think it's hard, but I think I've really had it a bit rough, you know. But I guess there are not many women who challenge men and also drive them up the wall like I do. So they make it even tougher. But I have good shock absorbers. I'll lend and I'll not break into pieces, and I'll be bouncing back again.
Okay, real quick, the latest thing you got into, Embakasi, you are petitioning it.
I am petitioning Embakasi because there was a lot of wrong there. I believe we won by a good margin. It was played on us, and it's only fair that you petition because some of the wrongs that we have in our electoral process have to be addressed. I mean, I've had people come to me and say, but Esther, do you believe in the judiciary? And I would like to say that, you know, it's good to give something a chance so that you can actually see whether it was worth taking that chance. And I have so many cases in court, and if I take the stand that I don't believe in the judiciary, or the judiciary is not prepared to change or be fair, or it's still influenced, like the electoral process, I believe, wasn't influenced directly but was manipulated externally. Yeah.
And no case so far that's gone to court as a petition has succeeded.
No, I don't think, first of all, I think in the historical times, the cases were in court for as long as the term of Parliament, 5 years. Currently, I think they have an understanding that all cases will be heard and done within 6 months. It's a big challenge with the judiciary, which seems to break all the time. There are many reasons. I think judges have got to put their foot down and stop all these sideshows, because sideshows deny one justice. And then I also feel that there is this perception that this is what government expects. And, you know, I was a bit disappointed in Embakasi because I believe we have a grand coalition. ODM, who I belong to, are sincere in terms of being in that grand coalition. But when I met my Prime Minister, the Prime Minister who's our ODM captain, I told him, I said, you know, we're in this grand coalition, but are we really a grand coalition? Because on the ground, I got my hands on an NSIS report, which was done purely for PNU. NSIS should have never agreed to do a pollster to tell PNU this is where you are in as far as the elections. Then you see the police. The police and the GSU, obviously very biased, very one-sided. The chiefs in the various Embakasi areas were giving food out. Now, if they were giving food out and it wasn't as an influence 2 days before the election, they should have called me and all the other candidates and said, come and be part of this.
So do you still think you won, even if you're saying now everyone was on the PNU side?
No, the government machinery are still not able to be balanced and support both sides.
Do you still think you won?
I don't think I won. I know I won. I also know how they rigged, and I'll have to tell them, that was so classy. They rigged in such a fantastic manner. It cost them 1.8 million to rig. We had many streams. Like if you look at Mwangaza had 20 streams. Now, Jeff Koinange ordinarily will go to K to vote. But in this case, if you were registered in Mwangaza, you could have gone to number 1 and voted number 2 and voted number 3 and voted in all 20. So they had all these guys wearing agents. They had 50 in 36 polling centers. each one voted as many times as the streams were there.
And you have proof?
Let me tell you, the proof is in the box. All right, the proof is in the box because you've got the register, and when you vote, it is a requirement that you cross out your name. So I believe I went very quickly and saw the ECK. I got my hands on all the serial numbers, which I'm telling with our serial numbers. I got all the Form 16s, and I believe that once we open the boxes, we will see that really we have to have alphabetical streams. And we cannot have the registers A to Z in every stream because Kenyans are so daring. It's almost like daylight robbery where you really don't care. You're going to steal and deal with it later and hope that something or someone will sort it out. But I have a feeling that ECK will take a neutral stand. They will defend whatever it is that has to be defended, but they can't defend somebody who outrightly abused something that ECK thought was they were doing the right thing. I asked Kivuitu, why would you have books in every stream that would allow for double voting? He says, yes, he agrees, but when Raila's name was omitted in Langata, they thought, let's do this here. My question is, did they do it only in Embakasi or did they do it in all the 5 polling centers? Nobody knows. But it was a way to basically up their numbers by about 14,000 votes.
Okay, even your most ardent critic will say, Esther, that you really performed well. I mean, 29,000 plus votes.
28,000.
There you go. It was a good show.
In 4 weeks.
Right. You don't even live in Embakasi. You couldn't even vote in Embakasi.
No, but I think I already have a name. So anywhere in the country that I would stand, I would need very little to market myself. But I went into Embakasi, I hit the ground, I got to know the people. And you know what's so beautiful about having got the 27,000 votes is without paying anyone. You know, I conducted rallies, I did road shows, I met communities, I shared my vision, I printed leaflets. I went a bit door to door. Embakasi is too big.
And it was your first time ever?
And it was my first time trying to go for a member of parliament. I learnt a lot about our character as Kenyans. My goodness, I mean, we're almost genetically dishonest. You know, it's amazing. I was shocked.
Explain.
No, I was shocked at, I don't know whether it's because, I don't even think it's because we're poor. Because it's not the poor that come to exploit. It seems like Kenyans have just gotten so greedy, and where there is an opportunity to make money, no matter, without a principle, without an ethic, without a moral value, they will be there. And I met so many different kinds of people. And for the politician that tells me this is normal, this is how Kenyans behave. But for me, as adults, we're over 18, we're raising the next generation. If we don't know how to be honest, we have a problem. In Embakasi, we have 2 things that are really predominant. We have a lot of churches. I mean, religion is like the big thing in Embakasi. And we have a lot of bars. So alcohol, drugs, a wasted lifestyle is a lot.
Which is an irony right there.
Yeah, where you have the 2 together. Yeah. But what was so amazing is I went to a few churches and I also tried to go to the smaller churches. Now, it was terrible for me once when I was called by about 50 church leaders, so-called non-denominational church leaders. And they come to you and they say, you know what, we believe in you, we want change for our people, and we really want to help you out. And for us to help you out, each of us pastors will need about 20,000. So I'm sitting there and I'm calculating and I'm thinking, why would I need to pay you 20,000 as a church leader to go and tell your congregation that you need to vote for a good leader, a person who can bring development so that we can actually be in a position to deliver souls to heaven? Do you know, for me, when you have poverty, you have the souls being lost because you go so deep into the rot of the world that even the preacher talking to you about delivering you to heaven is not going to work because you're so down. And I think if we can alleviate, remove poverty from our country or even, reduce it, then you're able to have a lot more people that will be able to listen to God this and God that, and spiritual nourishment. Because when you're suffering, if you've just come out from an ordeal where you've been raped or you've been an absolute drug victim, the last thing you really want to hear is God. Because you look at your life, or if you've lost a loved one in a very tragic manner, the last thing you want to believe is that there is a God, because that's the first thing you say, where is God? I'm going through all this. So I think poverty in itself defeats morality.
Were you going to change that, Esther, in Embakasi? Do you think you were going to change those attitudes?
Look, let me tell you, in 4 weeks, I met a lot of things that I thought, my goodness. Let me tell you something, Jeff. If we want to deal with poverty in Kenya, we're going to have to deal with our own principles as a people. You know, Kenyans, our social fabric, our beliefs, our standards have gotten so low that we are so unprincipled. Everybody's out to do somebody in for a reason. I mean, for Martha and Uhuru, my favorite friends in parliament, they went, and Kalonzo, who wants to be president, my goodness, I have no respect for him at this point. These are people who went to Embakasi and campaigned for somebody that should be in jail and not parliament. All right? And for me, it was very nice yesterday when I met JB Kilimo and I met Cecil Barira and I met Wavinya. And they, and a lot of other people. I've met Mwangi Kinjuri and Mungatana. These, and Kabando. These are people that never hit the ground in Embakasi because they were not willing to mislead a community.
So what are you saying, that the MP now should be in jail? Is that what you're saying?
Let me tell you something. I worked with him when he was deputy mayor. He is no saint. He is part and parcel of all the corruption in City Hall. He's the reason why the water company was not able to perform. And I'm sure if you had Kabando here, he will tell you that. The problem with Kenyans is we seem to want to butter everybody up and stay friendly with everyone. And this is where I get into trouble, because I'm not willing to pretend that you are perfect just because you are Mweshimiwa or you are somebody I need, or because I don't want to ruffle the PNU feathers, or I don't want to ruffle government, because there's this perception that we need to do things this way because this is what government wants. I'm not an enemy of the state, but if I go to a police station or if I go to a government office, people have this impression that, oh, you know, we need to fix her because government is not liking her. But why shouldn't government like me? Kibaki gave me an award, an OGW. I have said things that I stand by on the Kibaki administration. I'm not ashamed of it. My mother once said to me that the people who love you are the people who are honest with you. And I mean, if I ever had an opportunity again to talk to the president, I would tell him that your people are letting you down. There are people that he has in government that are not doing their jobs.
You know he watches this show?
I hope so.
So
yeah, I hope so. Because look, he might have the good intentions, but he's got people around him. He said, I want to have a government of clean hands. Let the guy be proved innocent in all his millions of cases before you send him to parliament. You know, I mean, seriously, what are we doing? Our country cannot afford any more bad leaders. Our country cannot afford somebody who was in the council and was given 20 million in last up money and had projects that are not on the ground going now to handle 200 million of CDF. I mean, are we wacko or something?
Are we wacko or something? I want to speak more about that, Esther. And also, would you stand somewhere else? Would you take a nomination somewhere else? I'll ask you that after the break. First, we'll take a break. My guest today is someone who just refuses to say no. She will not give up, keeps on fighting, will not give up the fight. She is no doubt one person to look out for in the future. I'm sure with her first time try in Embakasi, she hasn't given that field up. We're talking about Esther Modoni Rosanna. You still have Modoni, right? Still
yeah, Modoni.
Okay, still Modoni Rosanna Passaris. And you are watching Capital Talk only on the award-winning station K24. We are back in a moment. Welcome back to Capital Talk. My guest today, a woman who just refuses to give up the fight. She tried a mayoral seat in Nairobi, didn't get it. She tried for Embakasi, didn't get it, but she's fighting on. Esther Modoni Rosanna Passaris. So Esther, all of a sudden during this Embakasi campaign, you threw the name Modoni at us, which shocked a few people. Where did that come from?
When I saw the PNU elite or the top brass or the heavyweights saying that this seat has to come to us, meaning the Kikuyus, you know, I thought to myself, bloody hell, I'm Kikuyu, you know, I mean, so bring in the Kikuyu name, Modoni. So I brought in the name. Obviously it was strategic. I'm a marketing person. You do what you have to do to sell your product. And I am Modoni. Okay, I don't speak fluent Kikuyu. I mean, I know the keywords ngai, mbesha,
Are those the keywords?
yeah, God and money, yeah. No, I learned a few others on the way. But I wouldn't want to actually, I didn't want to campaign on a tribal line. But if they were going to say that it has to come home to us, I wanted the Kikuyu voter. And incidentally, I really believe 10 or 15,000 of my votes came from the Kikuyus. Because I had the Matatu behind me, I had the Mungiki behind me. These are Kikuyus. And I also had a lot of business people, commercial people, people who understand that they need to have an environment that's conducive for their business to work. Kikuyus also understand that they need to deal with poverty. And you can't deal with poverty if you have leaders who are stealing.
So it was a good move.
It was a good move to use Muthoni because those who were going to vote on tribal lines could have said actually Niwetu. You know, I used to go to places, so you Niwetu, you know, so I am theirs. But I would want to see an end to that kind of campaigning because we really have to be Kenyan. And I think even though I pulled in my Kikuyu name, a lot of people look at me and I don't think the Kikuyu would have been a big influence. I mean, for me, the Matatu business has issues, so they preferred me to deal with their problems. The hawkers have issues. They preferred me to deal with their problems. The Juakali have issues. And if 80,000 of that registered voters are Kikuyus, then I am sure they would want somebody who can make commercial sense of their businesses.
Okay, so your name is national.
I mean, Esther Passaris is more national than...
Okay.
But you know, when I was in school, I was Muthoni.
Is that
you know,
right?
and the reason why I dropped Muthoni and went to Esther, it was amazing. And this was somewhere around the mid 80s or late 80s. No, hold on, 90s, when I was dealing with Coca-Cola. And one of the Coca-Cola presidents said to me, you know, you're using this name Muthoni, and now the president is Moi. It was after the coup, I think. And he said, do you think it will do well for your business? And at that time, come to think about it, at that time, there was still this notion that Moi was not favorable to Kikuyus because we tried to overthrow him, so to speak. And so this Kikuyu name wasn't working. So I dropped Muthoni and I went to Esther. But it's now when everything falls into place and you see that the influence of tribalism in politics in Kenya is and has been there.
And it's not going away anytime soon. But
yeah.
Would you run anywhere else now, Esther? I mean...
No, I mean, I'm a Nairobi girl. So I'm obviously going to do my politics in the capital city. I would, if the mayor was electable by the people and would have power to sort out local authorities, I would definitely be interested in that.
Yeah.
Right now, the mayor has no power to do anything. It's the technocrats, and it's a system that's so well set.
But you ran for it, Esther. I mean, if
No,
you were there, would you have no powers?
No, at that point, I wouldn't have had powers, but it was, for me, it was a way to get in and learn the systems that I would need to change if I became the mayor by the people. Because both Kibaki and Raila was saying that within a year, we're going to have the mayors of Nairobi elected by the people. So it was an opportunity, go in, become the mayor, understand the systems, understand the problems, and then stand up and be a candidate that is already done some few good things while there for a year. So it was like
a learning process.
A learning process
curve, yeah.
for me.
Okay, let me ask you this. Deputy Prime Minister Musalia Mudavadi, who's the new Minister for Local Government, said he's going to revamp the list of candidates for councillor.
Yeah.
Would you take that?
No. I wouldn't take it right now, because right now I have a people in Embakasi, 27,000 voters that believe in me, and a lot more that didn't come out to vote. So I have to go to Embakasi. I'm petitioning Embakasi, and I had already said to the local government minister, the deputy prime minister, that my seat should go to somebody in Embakasi, an ODM woman in Embakasi. So that arrangement had already been put in place. Why? Because when Were died, he had certain nominations for Embakasi. And somehow the people that he had promised nominations in Embakasi did not get the nominations. So we've identified somebody who will take my position. But having said that, as a member of parliament for Nairobi, or as a leader in Nairobi, and having ODM controlling most of the council, now that we're going to clean up the mess of Uhuru, we will be in a position to guide the mayor. I mean, I do talk to the mayor once in a while. and the leaders of the council. We have a lot of problems in the council. The council is the reason we have a lot of poverty, because local authorities deals with grassroots. Central government deals with business and the upper level, and somewhere they're supposed to meet. Our local authorities are still having lots of problems.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Esther. What is your beef with Uhuru Kenyatta?
In fact, I don't know. Blimey. Uhuru, I think it's an ego problem. He has to deal with it. Men have egos, not women. For me, it would be a pride thing, isn't it? But for him, it's an ego problem. He made a mistake, and he's not man enough to admit that he made a mistake in removing me. He was too tribal, too PNU, and didn't want me to become the mayor. They wanted to fix me for being ODM. And he did just that by removing my name. I went into something bigger, a mheshimiwa. I mean, I was going to be the MP for Embakasi.
You were Mama Supu?
I was Mama Supu, still am. God, thank you. He spent a lot of time and effort in Embakasi. And I'm glad he also spent some money. Because, you know, politics is expensive. And he wasted a few of my shillings, so it's good that I wasted a few of his. But the thing is, they say there are no permanent enemies and friends in politics. For me, I had a lot of respect for Uhuru. I know him personally. I wrote him a letter when I handed over Adopt a Light to Naomi Sidi to run. And I said to him that there are issues here. And incidentally, I got my contract from him. He was the Minister for Local Government. But he made a wrong decision. And instead of accepting that he made a wrong decision and calling me to the drawing board and discussing it, he decided to clip my wings. ECK told him this was wrong. He still decided not to act on it. Then I go to Embakasi. I think if I had gone to Parliament, he would have been embarrassed, you know. And so he decided to champion and be part and parcel of the whole process to rig the election.
So you're determined to get to Parliament just to show Uhuru?
You know, I saw an article in the Nairobi Star that said, what did it say? How PNU finished Passaris. And then apparently Uhuru responds and says, we didn't finish Passaris, we just had no intention of sharing the roof of Parliament with her. And I thought, my goodness, how petty. But he hasn't seen the last of me in Kenyan politics. I think he should worry more about Gatundu and his ambitions to be president one day in the near future. And he needs good leaders. And he shouldn't be backing leaders that are not good, because Kenyans will judge him by that. A lot of people, he's building me. I've become so famous. Now I walk on the road, there's Esther Passaris, there's Mama Supu. I mean, Uhuru is building me. And I think it's about time that he got on with his job, because he has a big job to do for the country.
So you're saying he hasn't seen the last of Esther Passaris?
No, he hasn't.
So what does that mean? Are you,
it means
obviously, for instance, if you lose the petition?
If I lose the petition, yes. Do you know, I'm a person who's given myself now to serving Kenyans. And serving Kenyans means dealing with poverty, all right, dealing with governance issues, dealing with infrastructure, because we really have to get people to live in better houses, water in the taps. This country is so advanced where you go to Westgate and you eat in a 5-star restaurant. And then on the other side, you've got people that haven't seen water, clean water for ages, can't afford hospital bills, can't bury their dead. I mean, the social divide between the rich and the poor is alarming in Kenya. And we need to do something to bridge that. And I've got my foundation, the Driving Kenya Foundation, and I'm going to really pursue that and work on poverty across the country. Obviously, I still want to see Adopt a Light in the Nairobi Stock Exchange, so I'm hoping that we can deal with the legal issues in the next 1 year. I have other business ideas that I'm going to come up with, because politics is expensive. So if I want to stay in politics, I'm going to have to do some good innovative business that will be able to fund politics. And let me tell you something, you know what, there's this big debate right now with the mheshimiwas on the taxation. I'll tell you one thing, I believe that everybody that earns an income should be taxed. But I also believe that the mheshimiwas have a point, especially the mheshimiwas that are not rich. I mean, there's certain mheshimiwas like Johnston Muthama and what's his name, Harun Mwau, who money is not an issue, you know, and probably Amos Kimunya, the ones who've been there for a while now.
Uhuru.
You know, Uhuru, money is not an issue, land is the issue. We need to sort out the land issue. But when you think about the mheshimiwa, I mean it. I've been to the constituency in a morning where I probably have 100,000 in my bag, and I go into the constituency, and then, Mama, this one has died, this school fees, this tap here, this water, I mean, I went to Mukuru, and the road was so bad, and it had rained a little bit, so I had to hire a grader to just flatten the road so that the people could pass. Then there's another place I went, there was this heap of garbage, and this church complained, so I had to hire people to remove the garbage.
So
then I went to Umoja. Listen to this. I went to Umoja, and they'd not had water for months, and City Council was sending one tanker. I ordered 20 tankers. So I'm telling you that the Mheshimiwa's money is not his salary. It is the community money. Now, this is where we have gone wrong as leaders. Leaders have to have a certain amount that you tithe, a certain amount that you give for social, and the rest is your earning, you're working.
But what about the CDF, which is supposed to build those roads,
CDF,
fix the garbage?
CDF, but what about burials? What about sick people?
Everyone has burials. You and I have burials.
The poor people cannot afford. The poor people have a problem. And then also we have this culture of asking for help, because it's become a culture. So to reverse that culture will take a long time. Everybody, I mean, come on, Jeff, I'm sure you have family relatives who are calling you and saying, Jeff, school fees, hospital, burial.
But I am not unique. A lot of people do that to a lot of people.
But this is a cultural problem, and that's why I agreed with President Kibaki when he said the era of free things is over.
You agreed with President Kibaki?
On that issue and the working nation, I agreed with him on those two issues. He understood this free thing that Kenya wants. But when you haven't had a job for 5 years and you have a child, and you can't tell the teenagers or the youth don't have sex, don't have children. Ultimately, they're living with their parents, they're having children. We have to deal with poverty and unemployment. So I feel where we are let down is the local authority. We're let down also on the way we've handled poverty. We need to deal with poverty so that the Mheshimiwa's money becomes his money. And that's why also you find people want to get cabinet positions, because then you need to make deals to sustain the needs of your constituency. So the solution to my Mheshimiwas, who I'll be joining you in the near future, is let us address poverty so that we don't have to keep feeding and subsidizing and assisting the electorate. And then also, like I never paid. I'd go on the campaign trail and I'd see youth doing this. I'd stop and tell them, what is this? Mother soda, pesa. And I said, why should I buy you? For me, the African pride is eroded. I feel terrible when men ask me for money. I keep thinking, you're the breadwinner. According to biblical terms, you were supposed to toil the sand and bring the money home. But I think it's a culture, and they don't have the shame in asking because they have so many problems. Yeah. But they ask for it for drugs, they ask for it for alcohol, they ask for it for living and eating. I have no problems empowering women. I have a problem by giving them something to get them going. I met a guy in Donholm, and he said to me, Mom, I want only 800 shillings. And I looked at him and I said, what do you want 800 shillings for? This is on the campaign trailer. And he said, if I have 800 shillings, I can buy a jiko, I can buy githeri and maize, and start and buy the plates and start my own business. He had this piece of paper and he was going to start a business. I mean, Jeff, with 800 shillings, this guy would be able to make money every day to feed himself just by doing the githeri business. I gave him the money and I wished him luck, and I hope he's doing well where he is. So we need to find a way to help people become self-sustaining.
Bottom line, you had fun during this campaign, didn't you? It looked like you were having fun most of the time.
I mean, it was lovely. For me, it was lovely. First of all, when I started the campaign, I was threatened a lot. I'm going to die. Embakasi's, where I died, and why do I want to kill myself? All kinds of funny things. So I feel like I have to have this T-shirt. I survived Embakasi.
That'll sell.
Yeah, I survived Embakasi. I love the Kenyan people. I mean, I think that we have misled them, misdirected them, and abused them in a certain way as leaders. And I mean, yesterday I was busy trying to help a few of them go to Dubai to work as either doormen, drivers, waiters, housekeepers, because Dubai is recruiting 700 to 1,000 people almost monthly, So I want to send a few of the Embakasi guys there. But I would love to see us do something about the dumping site, create those recycling plants. I'm going to be meeting with the Nairobi Metropolitan Ministry because I feel they're already on the move. also with the local government ministry, because I want to help empower Embakasi, because that's my constituency, that's where I have now put my seed. But I also want to use my foundation to try and come up with a lot of low-cost housing. So I'm saying to Orengo, go ahead, get that land so we can give Kenyans proper housing.
Bottom line, we haven't heard the last of Esther Passaris.
Huh? No. I mean, look, as long as I'm alive, and as long as I have my two hands, and as long as I have my resources intact, I will be on the ground fighting poverty, fighting corruption, and fighting for good leaders. Because we can deal with poverty and corruption, but if we don't deal with the leadership, we have a problem. And then as a woman, I want to try and help. I mean, Embakasi has a unique widows problem. You have a lot of Mungiki, a lot of people who've been killed, and a lot of widows. I was happy that David Waithaka, the guy who was trying to stand in Starehe, and Coca-Cola World Bank, is doing something for widows. I have to find a synergy between me, the leaders, the ministries, and the NGO world to try and make sure that really we do what we promise to do for Kenyans. Because ultimately, if we don't, we're all doomed.
We're all doomed. Thank you so much, Esther. Well done. Good job. My guest today, you heard it from Esther Modani Rosanna Passaris herself. As long as she's alive, she's going to be out there fighting. She's never going to give up, especially for the people of Embakasi, especially for the poor and the downtrodden. With those kind of words, who is to stop her? Who is to be there in her way? She's no doubt a person to look out to or look out for in the future of Kenya. You have been watching Capital Talk only on the award-winning station K24, where we are all Kenyan all the time.